Hello, everyone. I'm Omar Sabek from Sasco Digital Assets, and it's a good day for a market update. So let's get right to it. The market today is down 8%. You're probably asking yourself the question, what's going on? If you woke up this morning, you saw that all markets were down. There's an incredible event that's happening right now. If you haven't heard, this is something that I've been watching for a couple of months now, and that's the situation in China as it relates to property developers that have taken on too much debt. And if you've heard of Evergrande, Evergrande is the number 2 property developer. And this really is a result of China clamping down on risk taking. Xi Jinping is moving sector to sector and addressing some systemic issues that he wants to really, whether it's corruption or moral hazard, he sees it as a long-term impact to the Chinese economy. So he wants to rein that in a little bit earlier. I think that's the most zoomed out kind of backdrop to, why we're seeing economic news and issues that are affecting and rippling through the global economy that are starting from China. We saw it with the shutdown of mining in around the May timeframe. If you remember, that triggered a liquidation event that took the price of Bitcoin from around 55, 60 down to 30, which was an incredible buying opportunity if you were a long-term investor. We saw prices recover since then. Up to 52,000, and we've been at around a high 45 to 50 range. Today, we see the market down, but we also see that all markets are down, and that's really important because you got to keep it into context. When all markets are down, then it's indicative of something that is just happening in the global economy. It's not something that is particular to the digital asset class or the Bitcoin specifically. If we saw issues with Bitcoin specifically, then you would see Bitcoin down, other things up. If you see issues or if there's concerns or news coming out or narratives that are competing against a bullish narrative for the crypto asset space, then you'll see all crypto assets down. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing a sell-off, a general sell-off across all markets. And we don't see the dollar rising, which is rare because typically if you see a lot of sell-off, then the dollar becomes in demand, the dollar goes up. It's just the way the markets work. The last time we saw a real sell-off where the dollar jumped was back in March of 2020. Again, we're not seeing that, but we got to see how this develops. It's still very early. Today's the first real market day where the market is realizing what's happening with Evergrande. The numbers are huge. $300 billion in debt. They have 1.7 million people that they took deposits from. And in China, if you want to buy an apartment, if you want to buy a house that was built by a company like Evergrande, you have to leave a 50% deposit. So they took that deposit money, and there's still a lot of open questions. Are they completely insolvent? How much assets do they have left? They're trying to sell their properties to their suppliers. They're working out all sorts of schemes to become solvent, but it doesn't appear like any of that is going to be successful. So we're really in real time witnessing the collapse of a major Chinese, it's called a state-owned enterprise. What are the ripple effects going to be within the property sector? And what are the ripple effects going to be in the broader economy for bond holders that were holding some of that debt? So it's going to be very interesting to see how all this plays out. But as it relates to Bitcoin, what we saw today is, I'm going to show the chart here. Okay, so we saw the market come down. This was, let's go back a little bit in time. This was March 7th. We saw the price go from 52 down to about 43. And that was, a high leverage liquidation event that came on the same day that El Salvador legal tender started. And since then, we saw a little bit of ranging. And again, today we see another, general sell-off, market down day that took the price down to a support line over here. Let's call it 42.5 at the support line. We can see that right now price is sitting a little bit above that. Here's my general take. If you were buying Bitcoin at 46, now you're buying it at 43. There's no general change to any of the fundamentals as it relates to Bitcoin because there's no Bitcoin use here. It's, again, just a kind of risk-off, general sell-off day. Let's look at some other metrics here. If we look at the exchanges, this was a trend that I've been following for some time now. This is the Bitcoin balance on exchange. What this tells us is how much Bitcoin is out there available to buy. If there's less available to buy, then all you need is a little bit of demand to come in to make the price spike. And here we go. We see that this is the year to, let's see, this is not the year to date. Let's get the 1 year here. Okay. So on the 1 year, we started off a year ago at 2.8 million Bitcoins, and now we're at 2.45 million Bitcoins, but we can see a general downtrend. This is Bitcoin that's being bought off the exchanges, and this is an aggregate view of all exchanges. We could look into, in this case, we have Coinbase, and we can see that the buying off Coinbase has been severe. Just right here is 300,000 Bitcoin from Coinbase. And we can see how, as we have downturn in price and people selling their coins, we can see it appear on the exchange, as we saw back in we started seeing it in the July timeframe here. And more recently, we just see, the levels getting to all-time lows on the exchange. Compare that to Binance. Here's Binance. So in Binance, we saw that there was an increase of supply on Binance, okay, over the past, 1 year period. And once we get to July, I don't know if these are OTC desks. I don't believe this is purchases being done by retail in Asia. Binance is primarily serving a Asian retail base. I think this tends to be Bitcoin that's being bought by OTC, which is over-the-counter buyers. When you are making large purchases, you're not going to go to the exchange, because if you go to the exchange and you're placing large orders, that's going to cause price slippage, and it's just not a really smart way to execute a trade. The smarter way to execute the trade is to go to an OTC desk or a prime broker. They have liquidity on multiple exchanges, and they'll execute the trade for you with minimal price slippage. And that's probably why we see this Bitcoin coming off of Binance. I'm actually a little bit surprised to see this. I would totally expect to see the balances on exchanges, dwindle, and really we'll see those balances dwindle as additional demand comes in. We're still in a bull market. That demand is going to be predominantly buying demand. I think we start seeing that when institutions start to announce their positions. But I also think that there's kind of chicken and egg scenario over here where you're not going to have institutions announce their positions until the prices are at all-time highs, because they want to look smart. They want to say, we have a position and we bought at X, Y, and Z time frame to look like they made a good call and, lift their profile and build some confidence, in their acuity in assessing the market. When you hear those announcements from those institutions, you can expect that other people that were sitting on the sidelines, investors, institutions that were sitting on the sidelines will start to come in. Price goes up, FOMO takes place. That's kind of my base case over the next couple of months. It's not a unique view. It's a view that I think people are coming to the conclusion on based on what we're seeing on chain, which is just incredible buying. I'm looking at the funding rates here. What funding rates tells us the amount of stability in the market as it relates to the leverage that's being taken out to buy additional Bitcoin. And here's more, the more recent view. And we can see that funding rates are relatively low compared to previous times where, we saw those liquidations. As long as we stay kind of relatively even on funding, where we have kind of an even matchup between bulls and bears or longs and shorts, it's a stable position to be in. So we should expect to see much less probability of, either a liquidation event or a short squeeze. When you have too much funding in one direction, then you see those massive price movements, which are sometimes good, because sometimes that just gets you out of a bear market. It could change a market, gets you out of a bear market, or puts you out of a bull market, depending on which direction it's going in. But if we see stability and we see, regular price appreciation over, a relatively long period of time, then that's bullish. And that's, number goes up, attracts new people. As the number goes up, we start to see news headlines and we start to see people coming into the market, investors coming into the market. And that's what will pick up, the momentum to take us to new all-time highs. So to wrap this up, and the key takeaways here are, there's a general sell-off happening today. It's not just Bitcoin. You don't want your investments to always be in savings, because that's going to lose value over time. You have to kind of be invested in the market. And, it's just the world that we live in right now due to loose monetary policy. I don't want my money to be in anything right now but assets that I know are going to do well in the future. So I'm trying to minimize my exposure to cash. But you should understand what your options are. If digital assets and Bitcoin is one of them, then get in touch with us because we can help you. We can help you navigate the space, and we can help you kind of make the right decisions based on what your own kind of risk profile is and what your own strategy is. And if you don't have a digital asset strategy, that's okay too. We can help you with that. So stay tuned for further updates. I'm going to be monitoring the situation. It's going to be really exciting to see how all of this plays out over the next couple of weeks as Evergrande unwinds, and to see what the ripple effects are on the economy. But my gut is telling me that this is going to be a really good time for Bitcoin because I see it as an asset that provides certainty. But we'll see. The market ultimately is the ultimate judge. And, I'm really excited to see, how Bitcoin performs through this scenario, through uncertainty, because we've never necessarily had a test like this. So this is going to be exciting stuff. So stay tuned for more. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Bye for now.